This is a common sight during our time in Egypt. When we take out our camera, we are quickly surrounded by angry locals. Why are you filming here, they ask. Any questions about the elections are quickly rebuffed. We don't like foreigners, this woman says. This is our country and our politics. Don't interfere. The only person defending us is the blogger and human rights activist Mohamed Murray. He tells the people it's good that German television is reporting on the elections. Later, Mohamed tells us that the people are ashamed of their poverty. They believe what Egyptian state TV tells them, that foreign journalists are spies.
Hope for it. Yes. And you did on Twitter and on Facebook?
We are in the industrial town of Mahala. It's here that the protests that swept the country first began. It's a city of 2 million, much poorer than Cairo. Most people work in industry or farming. The polls here open in January. We want to know what the people expect of the election and how they view the revolution that had its cradle here. Mohamed Murray has agreed to be our guide. He tells us of one special moment during the uprising in Mahala. We toppled Mubarak, he said, quite literally. We overcame our fear and tore down a huge portrait of Mubarak here on the square. Then people stamped all over the portrait. Mohammed originally studied veterinary medicine. He owns a poultry farm. But in the last few months, the 26-year-old has devoted most of his energy to the democracy movement. He spent 3 months in jail because of his involvement. On his blog, Edgy Times, he writes about abuses of power by the military and how elements of the old regime still pull the strings. He says elections alone will change nothing. Since the revolution, he's hardly done anything apart from blogs, says Mohammed. He has the feeling he's got a mission. It's taking too long, he says, but we must clear away the old regime. This is where Egypt's revolution began. In this textile factory, the biggest in the Middle East, workers first protested against pay and working conditions. 23,000 people work behind these walls. Security at the state-run factory is very tight. Recently, one of the candidates running for president was refused entry, Mohammed says. We wait at the factory gates. Mohammed wants to introduce us to a friend who helped organize the original strike here. Kamal Fayyoumi is a union official. Mohammed first met him in jail. Before he can introduce us, trouble breaks out again. You can't film here, this man says. This woman wants us apprehended. They're ruining our country, she says. People start throwing stones as we make a getaway. Kamal Fayyoumi takes us to his flat. Its 50 square meters are home to him, his wife and 2 daughters. Kamal's job as a technician gives him the equivalent of just 180 euros a month. He can only support his family by doing odd jobs in his free time, like most Egyptians. What inspired us to go on strike was the low wages, he says, and that most wealth is in the hands of just a few. He says the goal of the revolution was social justice, but 9 months on, things still haven't changed. We break off our conversation. Kamal has to pray. He's a devout Muslim, but says he won't be voting for the Muslim Brotherhood. He finds it unsettling that the group is the favorite to win the election. He thinks they're trying to use the revolution to their own ends. The Muslim Brotherhood is collaborating with the military and has lost sight of the people's demands, Kamal says. He accuses them of dismissing the people's legitimate wishes as elitist. They want everyone to keep quiet until they're in power, he says. No one knows what they really want. They just say, wait till we're in government. We have to leave. Government security officials have phoned. They say we've been filming without a permit, and they want to see us. Till February, Hosni Mubarak's face hung here. The face behind the desk hasn't changed. Security Chief Tariq Hafez is firm. Why didn't we report to him? He would have sent someone to accompany us, for our own safety, of course. This is a free country, Hafez insists. He tells us the election shows how successful the revolution has been. Such enthusiasm is hard to swallow from a representative of the old regime. But after half an hour of discussion, we are allowed to leave, without the minder Hafez ordered for us. Mohammed says that only goes to show that the security officials are in an uncertain position. There is still repression, but sometimes they are scared. The revolution broke their rule, but now the military has taken over. The military arrests and tortures opposition supporters, 12,000 in the last months. Mohammed Murray is intent on exposing such human rights abuses through his blog. But he knows that support for the protest movement is waning. More and more Egyptians want to return to normality. For a sense of what used to be Mohammed's normality, we've come out to his poultry farm. He runs it together with a friend from university days. Unlike Mohammed, Asayev hasn't joined the protests. Asayev is worried about their business. Since the revolution, the number of tourists coming to Egypt has slumped. And that has also hit the price of poultry. Asayev would like to see the protests across the country come to an end. He tells Mohammed, you got rid of Mubarak. And we changed the regime and got elections. That's good news. But you can't keep coming back with new demands. Asayev insists he wants stability and everyone back at work so the economy can recover. Most Egyptians now seem to share Asayev's pragmatism. Some are even blaming the protest movement for the country's current economic woes. But Mohammed is determined to press on. He's heading for a meeting with fellow bloggers. Some of them are standing for parliament under the coalition of young revolutionaries. They've produced glossy photos for their campaign, an idea some of them still find strange. But the men have been shocked into action by the success of the Islamic parties. Mohammed and his friends blame themselves, saying the language they used was too far removed from ordinary Egyptians. We have to do more than just protest, this man says. We can't expect other people to implement social justice for us. We have to explain what we stand for and win political power, he insists. That's how we achieve something. These are fighting words, but we wonder if even he believes them. For the bloggers must realize how unlikely it is that the fledgling democracy movement will be a major force in the next parliament. Once again, they may have no other choice but to protest.